right. All right. So let's move on. This is a group that you were, talking about. Me personally, one of my biggest takes was how much this running game needed to get better. I was somebody for all 49ers SI talking about that the 49ers needed to, before they made the move for the quarterback, I was like, maybe trade back to get a guy like Najee Harris, but definitely pick somebody within the top 3 rounds, because the running game was the biggest problem that I saw, even though most people would just focus on the quarterback play. Well, they revamped the running back room, obviously picking up Trey Sermon in the 3rd round, bringing in Gallman from the Giants, and obviously Mostert's coming back healthy. What are you seeing out of this running back room? How are these running backs looking? And tell us some updates that you've just seen overall.
The running backs are one of my favorite parts of the offense. Raheem Mostert, he's looked like Raheem Mostert. He looks like that. He doesn't look like anything's changed. He hasn't missed a beat. He's that same guy. You give him a crease where he can hit the hole and he's going to explode through it. And you've seen that in training camp. Trey Sermon is a guy who started off a little bit slow, but I think part of that's because they're not in pads, and so he wasn't really impressive until they put the pads on. And even then, he wasn't. The first couple of plays that I saw of him weren't very exciting, and then they had him run off just right off right guard one time, and he got a nice pop with a linebacker, and that's the first time you got to see that contact bounce that he runs with, where he lowers his shoulder, get that contact, and you just see him just kind of bounce off, and he doesn't really lose a step, and he just was able to keep on going. And from that point on in that practice, he stepped up and just had big run after big run after big run. So Trey Sermon is the guy who's showing everything that when I was really excited on draft night. He's showing all of that right now in camp. He's showing the ability to catch the ball in the backfield. He's showing the ability to run it. And then after that, the other guy, Elijah Mitchell, he's looked really good too. Every time that guy gets the ball in his hands, it seems like he's making plays, big plays. Almost every time he touches the ball, he's ripping off something big. And that's been consistent. That was on Tuesday in practice, the first day of pads. You saw that again on Friday to a certain extent. You saw him be able to catch the ball in the backfield. So he's looking really good. And then Gallman as well. Gallman's a guy who he's made some good runs here and there. He's a guy who I think just needs to be getting the ball in his hands more often. He's not. I don't think his best feature is the ability to come in and just get off the sideline and make a big run. I think he's a guy that's got to be in there and kind of start getting hit and kind of pounding his way through it. And I think that's where his biggest attributes come into play.
So
and Hasty's at the end.
So I think in 2019, obviously the 49er rushing attack was ranked top, the second, right? They average about 141 yards per game, right behind Baltimore. And there was really a 3-headed monster, with Coleman kind of being the every down back, and then having guys like Matt Breida, Raheem Mostert come in spot duty and kind of gash the defense for those long yards. I think every single one of them averaged over 3.5 yards per carry that season. But seeing how these guys are playing, and once again, I'm prefacing all of this by this is way too early to make these kind of predictions. But knowing that that's kind of what Shanahan likes running, the 3-headed monster, who are you seeing as far as in those positions? And let's say, who do you feel like is the 2021 version of the 2019 Coleman? Who's going to be the 2021 version of Breida, and who's the 2021 version of Mostert?
Well, the Coleman back is going to be Trey Sermon. He's the power guy, so that's partly I think why he's running so much already with the ones, because he's going to be expected to be the tough inside kind of the tough runner, right? He's going to be the one that's going to be grinding it out. Mm-hmm. And Mostert's going to be Mostert, right? He's going to still be the Mostert. He's still going to be that character. But then the one that's interesting is the third one, and I think by the time the season rolls around, I have a feeling that Elijah Mitchell's going to show himself to be the guy that's the most maybe like the Matt Breida back, that other explosive back, because he's just a guy who, again, almost every time they give him the ball, it's between the tackles, but he's popping plays, and you can see his vision. for those where he's able to get through the line and really, weave his way through. He's able to bounce off guys, and he's not tall, right? So but he's big, but he's not really tall. So he runs with a low center of gravity, and I think we're gonna see him probably be the number 3 guy with Gallman as your 4th.
Wow. So obviously, Elijah Mitchell was kind of like a surprise pick, right? I think a lot of people thought they were going to use that pick to maybe get a receiver, but they ended up taking another running back. And now you're saying he could be, one of the main guys utilized. That would be a steal of a pick, wouldn't you say, if he could come out and be as productive in his rookie season as you're kind of saying he might be able to be?
Yeah, though it definitely would be. It would be a definite steal, at that 6th spot in the 6th round there to be able to get what you expect for that 3rd running back in the 49ers offense, what you expect them to be able to produce.
So one thing that Tevin Coleman was really good at was the pass protection for the running back position. And one thing that I feel, even though I'm a big Mostert fan, is his body isn't built to take on too much damage to still be able to be healthy. He's not like the biggest back. He's not like a heavy guy as far as a running back. He's under 200 pounds, so on and so forth. So I don't know if you've seen it yet out of the running backs, but if Trey Sermon is going to move into that position of the Tevin Coleman 2019 version of Tevin Coleman, are you seeing that ability to pick up that loose blitzer? How is he doing in pass protection if you've seen him in that position yet?
Are you talking about are you talking about
Trey Sermon? If Sermon, yeah.
Yeah, he's that's a kind of a work in progress. It's not something he was asked to do a lot of at Ohio State, but he's definitely working towards that. You're seeing him be able to step in and do a good job there. It seems like a lot of times when he's in the game, they're either giving to him on a run or he's going out on a pass. So he's not really being asked to stay in very much during the team drills, at least with what I've seen so far.
Who's kind of carrying the load right now in training camp in that position?
It's mostly Mostert.
Really? So he's the one that's in there on 3rd down during when they're just straight out rushing the quarterback?
Yeah, from what I can recall.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So it looks like this running back core is going to be pretty rookie centric, right? It's Mostert and a couple of rookies. Is that what you're kind of predicting at this point?
That's what it looks like. Those are the top 3 as far as when you watch them in camp. It seems like that's pretty much kind of the rotation in the way that they're getting into the flow of things. Okay,
and so on your 53-man roster, how many running backs were the 49ers adding or taking?
They had 5. They had the four halfbacks plus Juszczyk.
So who doesn't make the team that are people that people may have thought would make the team?
I don't think there's anybody because I'm not sure how many people think Jermichael Hasty was going to beat any of those guys out. I don't know if anybody really thought that. They only have I think they have 5 halfbacks in camp, so he'd be the odd man out. He can end up on the practice squad. Plus, they're going to get Jeff Wilson Jr. back at some point in the middle of the season too, so it'll be interesting to see how they manage that. Josh Hawkins, a guy that's done a really good job in camp as well. He's the fullback out of Fresno State. He's not going to supplant Kyle Juszczyk this season, but he's done a really good job through camp. I know that Kyle Shanahan's really looking to try to get him in quite a bit during the preseason. You mentioned that, I think it was yesterday, as far as wanting to get him into the game quite a bit and watch him go. Because he's definitely been doing a good job as a receiver out of the backfield, and he's been doing a decent job run blocking as well.
So your prediction, way too early prediction at this point, Mostert 1, Sermon 2, Mitchell 3, Gallman 4, and then obviously Juszczyk will be that 5th guy that they bring in.
Yeah. Yep, okay. That's it.
Cool.